So I'm in a race with the sun. It's coming up quick. Okay, so what I want to talk to you about, I keep hearing people say, oh, forget Amanita, it's not a great trip, I don't see the purpose in it. And yet there's all this folklore that goes back, thousands of years with this mushroom. So there's obviously some validity there and something important about it. And this is my opinion about why I believe it's important for a spiritual journey, for enlightenment, for mental health, for peace of mind, for all of the things that people are using illegal substances, which, that's another whole thing. But the entire spectrum of LSD, DMT, ayahuasca, magic mushrooms, the psilocybin stuff, all that, and they're throwing Amanita out, and I want to give you my opinion on this. So from all of the trip reports that I've read, this is my conclusion, and there's a lot more coming up about Amanita that I want to talk to you about. So from this is my opinion and my understanding. Ayahuasca or DMT and man-made LSD, they address the celestial global questions. What is the purpose for being here? What is life? How do we fit into the paradigm of the large? And the trip reports I read, people come back talking about the largeness of things, the bigness of things, life and death. Where does it all fit? And then psilocybin and mushrooms, from what I read and hear, address interpersonal relationships, love, the connectedness of life on earth, and people report a sense of connectedness, love, empathy, groundedness. And then people ignore and toss out Amanita. And there's two camps on that. There's the people that just want to trip and have a good time. Amanita's probably gonna let you down. But I want you to pay attention to this for a spiritual journey. What Amanita Muscaria addresses, and this makes sense if you believe my opinion about the role that these things play. What's missing in everything I just explained? What's missing is the relationship to the self. And fundamentally, that's where everything begins. And so it is my opinion that every spiritual journey should start with Amanita. And here's what I believe Amanita does. It is a consequence of life on earth that you're going to get damaged. And you can say, no, it's because of modern technology. It's because we've lost our connection to the old ways and the old way of doing things. And humankind is broken only in the last 100 years. But let me tell you this. 1,000 years ago, life was hard. And women didn't have a good go of it. Losing infants, to illness and death, dying in childbirth. Men left with families full of children because the women have died. Illness and disease wiping people out, and plagues. Predators, running from predators. Life was hard, and that will mess you up. That kind of stuff scars you for life. There's no blame for getting damaged by life and being human. And also we're damaged because one of the hallmarks of being human is having a huge cortex and being self-aware and aware of danger. And our brain is made to log danger in that fight or flight system in our bodies. It's part of our survival and our awareness. All animals have it. The difference is we're aware of our awareness. We can philosophize about it. We can record the fear, and then not only do physical situations that are similar to it trigger the fear, but our own thoughts can mess with us and trigger the fear, and then we get caught in PTSD. And some other animals get it also. It would make sense then that Mother Nature also provides the cure. There's also a phenomenon where humans deny themselves because of childhood experiences where they're told they shouldn't exist. I know that autists tend to get that message because we feel like freaks on this planet, but you can get that message from so many different directions, and so much drug addiction, or all addiction, is rooted in denial of self-worth and value and right to be here. And it's a way of not only drowning the pain, but trying to kill the self that you're in denial has a right to exist. So just living a normal life can create PTSD and stress-related syndromes. But then, you know, parts of modern society can create it, and then abusive situations. There are so few people, so few humans on this planet that don't have some form of PTSD and stress-related illness. So what Amanita does, and what it's done for me, is even in microdosing, from the very beginning, from my very first dose where I took too much. I didn't have a full recreational dose, but I took too much because I didn't know how much to take. It was immediate. And what it does is very similar to all the trip reports that I hear from psilocybin. The difference is, when you go into the self, that can be a hell like no other. Your relationships to other people, the bad trips that I hear about with psilocybin and DMT, they're in relation to unknown fears, terrors, darkness, and all that kind of thing, but they're outside the self. But you go inside the self, that's some scary stuff. That's where the true evil and terror resides. That's fear that no other thing can take you to. All fear is inside the self. But when it relates to questions of where do I relate to the universe, or abandonment by others, or death and relationships to others, those things pale in comparison to the terror that can live inside you, of fear of what you're capable of, fear of your own damage, fear of yourself, fear of survival, fear of worthiness, fear of love, connection, vulnerability. Wherever that fear's coming from, got written there for some of us in some truly horrible experiences. Made even worse when you're a child and lack context. So whatever you can say about bad trips, they pale in comparison to when you take something and it takes you into the self, into those places that get to the root and the heart of yourself and your fear. And what I see now is all these reports of, oh, I felt great, and then all of a sudden I went to sleep and I had weird dreams, and then I came out of it and I felt different. What was happening was the trip. But Amanita is unique in that it gives you the grace of unconsciousness, so that the experience is happening. The reason why people say I was asleep but I wasn't asleep, I was dreaming but I wasn't dreaming, is because you lose conscious awareness for the experience, but you're still going through the experience of what I would say is the worst trip of all, and that is whatever it's doing to the self and your awareness of your own personal experiences. And it has the grace to put you to sleep so that you're not there to experience it. But you get the rewards of it. It's changing the brain. It's changing your awareness, it's changing your emotions and your feelings, and that's why when you wake up, you come out of it different and changed. And people are focusing on how uncomfortable it was. In extreme cases, they're paralyzed, which is what sleep does to you, but they have a little bit more conscious awareness, and they know they're aware and that they're experiencing these things, but they can't move to get up and stop it like you can with other substances. So they are calling that a hell, valueless, terrible, no fun, and then they're tossing it. And what they're failing to realize is, okay, they didn't get the grace of being unconscious for most of it. They were aware. And why does that mean that it was valueless? It may not have been fun, but did you enter into a journey of enlightenment, love, connectedness, and freedom because it was going to be fun to get there? I don't know about you, but the hell I've been through, I'll go through hell to get out of it. So, to me, Amanita is the most graceful, fundamental teacher. And the most difficult. But let me ask you this. What good is it to obtain spatial, intergalactic level awareness, fundamental connectedness, universal awareness, and lack awareness with the self? And to me, this is why people who start with those substances report, yes, I feel connected, yes, I feel this, yes, I feel that, and yet they're not finished. And yet, they still struggle. They have to keep taking it and going back. And then they'll take it and go back and say, I'm getting less and less. Yes, it's beautiful, but I still feel like I'm stuck. I still feel like something's missing. Yeah, because you did it upside down. You started in the wrong place. What's missing before you can get anything from anything else? Poetry, art, spirituality, meditation, meetups, retreats, drum circles, yoga. None of that has anywhere to land if you haven't cleaned your heart, your mind, and created a space for it to land. You've got to love yourself first. And I don't mean the superficial kind, like saying it, reading it in quotes. I mean digging out where you don't love yourself because of messages that were put in there at a very early age or through traumatizing experiences. Until you're willing to look at that evil. And what's more evil than a self telling the self it has no right to exist and it's constantly trying to kill the self? It is from that evil that all evil arises. I can't think of anything more powerful and more fundamental than that work first. And in my experience, that's exactly what Amanita Muscaria is here for and does. Now, we have the beginnings of research to suggest, that shows, that these other substances are actually changing connections in the brain, rewiring, severing things, connecting things. I don't know yet of those same studies on Amanita, but I can tell you I've experienced that rewiring. It would make sense that there are many other mushrooms like lion's mane that we now know really does nourish cells and help with memory and can help treat Alzheimer's and early onset dementia, non-active, non-psychoactive mushrooms. If mushrooms are so powerful on rewiring the brain and growing brain cells, why would this one psychoactive mushroom like Amanita Muscaria not do that? And I believe in the future we're going to get those studies that show that. Amanita muscaria is just as powerful as all the other mushrooms and psychoactive substances. It just works in a different way. Embrace the sleep. Embrace the delirium. Embrace the fear. Go with it where it takes you. Because Amanita is the yin and the yang. It's dirty. It's ruthless because it's serious about this. That's its purpose, and it says, this is what I'm here to do, and I'm going to do it. Hang on, because you need this, and it's for your own good. But at the same time, it's a jokester. Because you never know what you're going to get. There's no norm as far as how much is in any one mushroom compared to another, or from when it's harvested from 1 month to the next, or what you're going to get when you take it from one dose to the next. There's just no consistency, and it's why everyone's so confused about it. And no two trip reports are going to be the same. There are some commonalities: the euphoria, the delirium, the urgent need to sleep, the terror and fear that's experienced in that sleep or lack of sleep, the weirdness in it, the inability to talk or function or control yourself, and then the waking up. Those are consistent, but barring that, it's all over the place. And there are times you can take it and get absolutely nothing from the same batch. And I believe there's wisdom in that. I know what the wisdom is for me and why I get nothing from it sometimes. And then I can take the same microdose and have an extremely sweat-filled, uncomfortable night from the same batch. And no, it's not ibotenic acid. There's some stuff that I'm dealing with. I feel myself dealing with it. I wake up and I know I'm changed and I dealt with something. And then it gives me a break. This is a very important mushroom. I love the fact that it's a jokester. It's so bright and beautiful and brilliant when it comes up, and I hear it joyfully laughing. And then it just messes with you. It's like, we're gonna work today. No, we're just gonna laugh and celebrate today. And then at other times, you know, nah, you just need some sleep. It's a jokester, but it's the yin and the yang. It can get really dirty and serious. And then at other times, it just makes you laugh and feel joy. I'll talk about what I feel when I see it. I know what other people feel when they see it and harvest it. And that's information for another day. And that's all I have to say about that. Peace.